He said, no. Let's tell them another story. I don't know if some of you have heard this story, if you've heard me say this story before. I do not know, but that is the story that I'm going to be telling you today. The Unveiling. It is titled The Unveiling. And while I was thinking about that, I said, oh, for me to tell that story, I need to get something very special. One of my favorite African musical instruments, which is called the what?
Oja.
Oja. Oja. And I got a friend of mine who was a friend to Uncle Sheun. Can you see Mr. Sheun here? Mr. Sheun, say hello to everyone.
Hello.
So, I got that friend of mine who was also a friend of Mr. Sheun, and I said, I have some amazing children that are coming to listen to a fantastic story tomorrow. And I want you to come and help me play the Oja flute. Mr. Sheun, can you play something for us, please? Because it's calming, it's soothing, it soothes my spirit, it soothes my mind. And so every time I hear the Oja flute, I get excited. Let's have it again. Oh my goodness. I am going to tell you my story now, titled The Unveiling. I want you to type it out there, if you can hear me. The Unveiling. The Unveiling. Are we ready? Are we ready? Oh, it's a marathon. It is a marathon. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Have you typed the title of our story, The Unveiling? Put it out there. Last week, I asked you a very important question. What do you see? When you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? How far can you see? How deep can you see? We will come back to that story and that question after my story. Is everybody in the house now? I have been trying to buy time to get everybody in. Now I am going to start, and nobody should say I should start again. Once upon a time, I hope everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, just do this. Just do this. I want to see you doing this. Can you hear the sound of the drum? Let's hear some Oja flutes. A young boy called Okafor. Okafor was a teenager, about the age of 12, 13. And guess what? He was very timid. Very timid. He would always hide. But he was very gifted at playing the Oja flute. But he would hide and he would play when nobody's watching him. The only two people who knew about his talents were his mother and his best friend, Agosi. Agosi was a palace servant. He was a servant to the king. And so on this particular occasion, when all the young boys in the village were supposed to come before the king with gifts, presenting them before the king to show obeisance, Okafor and his mother, who were very poor, had nothing to present. But you know what his friend Agosi told him? He said, you have something to give. You have a gift to give the king. The gift of music. Give the king a gift of music. And Okafor said, no, I need to bring clothes. I need to bring fruits. And he said, no, give whatever you have. The king will appreciate it. And so, Agosi encouraged Okafor to come before the king with a gift of music. And so, after all the other boys, his age mates had come, some presented baskets of fruit, some baskets of food, and some brought fabric and all sorts of gifts for the king. And Okafor stayed in line, and everybody was wondering, why is your hand empty? There is nothing in your hand. What are you going to give the king? But Okafor had nothing but his Oja flute in his hand. And the moment it was his turn, his hand began to shake. His hand began to shake and he was scared. And his friend Agosi would tell him, you can do it. You can do it. Do it. Play before the king. And the moment he placed that Oja flute between his lips, oh! Ah! Put in the chat, say one day, type one day. Quickly! Oh my goodness, this story is getting so hot. One day, yes, I say it, one day, visitors from the north were passing by. But they decided at home. And then he said, one more thing. I need to show off my friend Okafor's musical skills to my visitors. So he quickly called Agosi. Remember Agosi? Yes, Agosi. Okafor's former friend. He had also grown in the palace. He was elderly too now. And the king said, quickly, go and call my friend Okafor and bring him to the palace to come and play for my friend. And Agosi said, oh yes, my king, but the gifts to give Okafor are not ready as usual. He said, no. This is an emergency. Tell Okafor to hurry up. We will do that later. And Agosi ran. He ran as fast as he could to Okafor. Explained everything. Okafor, the king has visitors. Oh, he needs you to come now. He needs you to come now. It's an emergency. Before they leave, he wants to show you off. Okafor said, oh yes, I am ready to come. But I do not see the usual gifts. Where are my usual gifts? And he said, the king said that will come later. Because we're in a hurry, you need to quickly come now. Okafor said, what? Am I a mere man that the king should herald me to the palace without gifts? Tell him that I shall not come. I will not come. He said. Agosi said, but Okafor, this is the king. You cannot disgrace him before his visitors. He said, tell him that I will not come. Wow. Okafor refused. And so Agosi started to retreat and told himself, who am I to take such news to the king? He could take my head for that. Anyway, while on his way home, back to the palace, looking very dejected and very sad, Agosi met his daughter, Adamma, on the way. And she saw her father's countenance, looking so dejected and sad and all of that. And then she said, she said, Daddy, what is the matter, Papa? Why are you looking so sad? And so Agosi told her everything that had happened. Wow. She shook her head. She said, certainly, Papa, you will not be able to deliver such disgraceful news. And she said, Papa, come. Let's go. I have a plan. Type in your chat boxes a plan. Let me see a plan. Get me that mask. And then she said, I have a plan on how we would make sure we get Okafor to the palace. Now, Okafor's music will get to the palace. Okafor's music must get to the palace. And so, the moment that was done, we go back to the courtyard. Back in the courtyard, everybody, women, men, women, children, everybody was at the courtyard. And, everybody was, playing. Let's hear only the drums now. And everybody was dancing, waiting for Okafor. Okafor will soon begin. The king had announced to everybody, my friend Okafor is coming. And while that was going on, everybody was dancing. Immediately, somebody so assaulted into the midst of everybody, wearing something like this, a mask. And the person played the Oja flute, just like Okafor would do. Aha! And this masked person played and played and played and unbelievable. Everybody got quiet. What is the king about to do? What is the unbelievable thing the king is about to do? What is the unbelievable thing? Do you know what the unbelievable thing is? Chat. Put it in your chat box. Unbelievable thing. And while you were chatting and you were typing that in the box, the king said, today, Okafo, I divide my kingdom into two. One for me and one half for you. Unbelievable! Everybody screamed! The crowd went wild! Oh my goodness! They carried the Okafo. They carried it up. They carried it up. And began to run around the courtyard. They ran and ran and ran, carrying him on their shoulders. And immediately, while that was going on, the mask fell. Everybody was shocked to see who it was that was behind the mask. Adama. Adama was behind the mask. Adama was behind the mask. Oh my goodness. Everybody was shocked. Immediately the king stood up furious. And he said, You deceived me. The moment that happened, Agosi ran before the king on his knees and he began to tell the king everything that had happened with Okafo. Oh, my king, have mercy. I begged Okafo. Okafo refused to come because we did not send the gifts. And I could not bring such disgraceful news to you. King, have mercy. So we decided that we would risk this to make sure that you are not shamed before your visitors. Oh! When the king heard the story that Agosi had given at all, he was touched. He said, Agosi, you and your child, your daughter Adama, risked your life to save my face from shame? Oh. Everybody was listening to what the king would declare. And the king said, I have spoken, so be it. The crowd went wild and they began to scream. They picked Adama up. Everybody began to run around. Aha! Become a queen. Oh my goodness, Agosi had become the father of a queen. Everybody was excited. And while that was going on, Okafo's wife, who was present and saw it all, went home and saw her husband still waiting for the kola nuts and the yams and the alligator pepper and the kola nuts and all the what have you. Waiting. And she said, look at you. Waiting for yams and kola nuts and all of that when slaves now ride on horses. When slaves have become kings and queens, you are waiting for yam. Oh! When Okafo heard the story, tears rolled down his cheeks. And he regretted totally what he had done to the king, his best friend. And that is the end of my story. Is somebody going to clap for me or what? I think that was a fantastic story because I enjoyed every bit of it myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that is the end of my story. So much to learn from that story. Oh, I don't know why some videos are off. Why are some videos off? Oh, you're going to make me very sad. I see Emelue's video is off. I see Victor. Please turn on your videos, Joba. Joanna.